morning, everyone, or whatever time it is for some of you. Yesterday we completed that section on motion in the area of the causal body, and we also read about the factors involving group life, the three atomic relations and the 7 laws of the soul, and we still have to continue with the 22 methods of group interplay. We're going to, however, take up the planetary schools today, which is a very interesting subject. On every planet, or we could consider every planet as a school, either is a school or consider it as a school. We'll be particularly interested in the Earth school, but studying the other ones will shed some light on what occurs in Earth school. We do realize that esoteric astrology is completely interwoven with the study of cosmic fire. So this morning we will work on Earth school and see what our relationship to it may be, our individual and group relationship. There's not so much information given, but enough to give us the idea. So let us enter into group meditation. And we quiet the outer form. We quiet the normal sense consciousness. And we quiet the normal responsiveness of the astral body. And we quiet the lower mind. We realize ourselves to be the observer of these 3 vehicles, the 3 states of awareness in the 3 worlds. The old formula, I have a body, but I am not my body. I have feelings and sentient states, but I am not these. I have a mind with its thoughts, its thinking power and thought forms, but I am not these. What then am I? I am the soul, and also love I am. Above all else, I am both will and fixed design. My will is now to descend, where the lower self awaits my coming. That which my will is now to lift the lower self into the light divine, that which desires to lift and that which cries aloud for lifting are now at one. Such is my will. With all subtlety, I realize myself to be more the soul than the personality. And I imagine myself as a point of consciousness in the very center of the egoic lotus, the vehicle of the solar angel on the higher mental plane. This is my true polarization, if I could sustain it. And we are together in the unitive field of soul light, soul love, soul power. We seek the wisdom of the spiritual triad, which we approach together as a group. Visualizing the group Pantakarana, cone-like, ending in the brilliant blue-white diamond representing the spirit. I see the greatest light. I see the greatest light. And a wisdom higher than our personal wisdom can descend into our soul consciousness. And give us perspective. We are interested in the nature of our planet and our role upon it, within it. It is a planetary school. It's called the School of Magnetic Response. Let's ponder those words. The school of magnetic response. The title suggests a great sensitivity to diversified energies. Which we draw into the ring pass knot of our consciousness and energy system, and which we cannot escape. We are learning on this planet magnetic response. Magnetism is at times considered a second-ray quality, with its origins in the first ray. To what are we responding? To the magnetism of the world Savior? Who, if he be lifted up, will draw all men unto him? Are we beginning to respond? Beginning to respond to the planetary will and purpose of the greatest Savior upon our planet and the highest exponent of the teaching ray, Sanat Kumara. Or are we simply responding to many elemental attractions in the lower three worlds? And if we are, we have to learn to disengage from that type of entrapping response. All of us will one day be graduates of this school. Our graduation begins at the fourth initiation and perhaps concludes at the sixth. Unless the path chosen by us is the path of earth service. Which could keep us working in relation to this planet through the seventh initiation and beyond. Just as the Christ is now working, and as the Buddha is also working though it is said that earth service was not his real path. So as we work our way through the higher initiations, we will become graduates of painful endeavor. What does that mean to us? Do we have at this time some examples from our long life? Take a look at our endeavors. Spiritual, not so spiritual. To what extent is pain involved? What is the nature of this pain? Perhaps the purpose of this pain. What are the most painful endeavors in which we have been involved, those we can remember? Can we isolate something from our life? Why, on our planet, does this pain exist? Why do we think? Can it be that life on our planet is both of the moon and of the sun, and that the contrast between the two, between elemental living and solar angelic living, is the dividing source of the pain? We live on an imperfect planet. Our planetary logos is at the moment one of the imperfect gods, though having achieved a degree of perfection on the inner planes, this has not worked out on the outer planes. We are said to be adjudicators between the polar opposites. What are these polar opposites? And what is the nature of our decision, our judgment, our adjudication between these polar opposites? What type of adjudication are you engaged in even now between the sensed polar opposites of your life? An occult hint is given that we are undergoing examination on the third subplane of the astral plane. Our planetary logos is undergoing its experience on the fourth subplane of the cosmic astral plane. What might be the nature of this examination on the highest of the Brahmic astral subplanes? Poised to enter the occult subplanes, which are the second and the first, counting from above, or the sixth and the seventh, counting from below. Do you feel like you are undergoing examination in any way on the astral plane? There is desire, there is aspiration. Toward which of these does your imagination and your idealism tend? As in any school, there are tests, there are examinations. Do we have a sense of when we are passing through a relevant test? between the first and second initiation, there are the tests of fire, earth, air, and water on the astral plane. Probably they are not all taken in the same life. Do you have a sense of passing through such a test, occultly speaking? And if so, what must you prove in relation to planetary destiny and your role in that destiny? Let us think of our life. Gemini and Venus are behind a situation which makes our planet unique. And this is the phrase, our Earth is uniquely the planet of releasing sorrow and purifying pain. Mercury, Venus, and the Earth together bring this. Releasing sorrow and purifying pain. Review your life. Has this tendency, which is the unique characteristic of our planet, expressed itself through your life, releasing sorrow and purifying pain? We must ask, how does sorrow release? How does pain purify? On this planet of redemptive love. Have we ever been released by sorrow? Can we be specific? released into what if we have been released through sorrow? And if there has been pain in this life, on whatever level, in what manner, if it has it purified us? Since our planet is uniquely the planet of releasing sorrow and purifying pain, when sorrow comes, we must think of the release within it, potential. When pain comes, we must think of the manner in which it can purify not only the body but the consciousness, even more importantly. Our planet has a third-ray personality and a second-ray emerging soul. We know that the externalization of the hierarchy and the reappearance of the Christ is part of the vanguard of that emerging second-ray soul. Now think about your activities in life on this much distressed planet, passing through a kind of fourth initiation in our chain, the Earth chain at this time, and on our fourth globe. Think about how you live. To what extent is your living contributing to the emergence of the second-ray soul of our planet, rather than to the perpetuation of the third ray regime of the Earth's personality. Can you identify which way you are aligned, and what are the specific effects of your work in the world? The third ray personality promotes intelligence, competition, egoism, separativeness, the love of form for its own sake, non-unity, unless, of course, it is utilized by the second ray. This personality force has been with us on our planet a long time. And the second ray, soul of the emerging planet, through the hierarchy, through the Christ, promotes unity, group understanding, the welfare of all human beings and all kingdoms, a vision of the divine plan and even purpose, the reduction of selfishness, a harmonizing of the planetary kingdoms. How does your action, how does your service, your activity, how does it line up with these two trends which we have discussed yesterday as the monastic and the love-wisdom trend, regardless of what may be your ray? If the soul of this planet emerges, then the soul presence of many, many human beings must also emerge. And the first initiation of humanity will be possible. And we will know when that happens. Because Christ will have reappeared as the signal of that happening. So, on this planet of releasing sorrow and purifying pain, humanity is in the Libran balances. A decision is being made to return to the past via the third ray, or to advance into the future via the second ray. And we cannot help but be part of that decision. And it would be better if we were conscious of this fact, rather than just going along and not knowing what is really happening. Graduates of painful endeavor, adjudicators between the pairs of opposites, on a planet uniquely of releasing sorrow and purifying pain. Human beings undergoing examination on the third subplane of the astral plane. The planetary soul emerging, especially through the externalization of the hierarchy and the reappearance of the Christ. And our responsibility to be conscious parts of that emergence of the planetary heart and soul. The ageless wisdom holds the secret of what is really happening, and our efforts to teach and spread the knowledge of the ageless wisdom are precisely in line with the process of informing humanity about the nature of its decision, how far it really extends. Holding our soul alignment, holding our sense of group impressibility by the powers of the triad and wisdom especially, with a sense of being impressed by the plan, that part of it, which is ours to carry out either individually or in group form. We together sound the great invocation, pausing between the verses. From the point of light within the mind of God, let light stream forth into the minds of men. Let light descend on earth. From the point of love within the heart of God, Let love stream forth into the hearts of men. May Christ return to earth. From the center where the will of God is known, let purpose guide the little wills of men, the purpose which the masters know and serve. From the center which we call the race of men, let the plan of love and light work out, and may it seal the door where evil dwells. Let light and love and power restore the plan on earth. Oh, 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 in a position to meditate as deeply. Not in a position to meditate as deeply on the other planetary schools, although because the different chains and globes are keyed to them, they naturally do affect our process here on Earth. And besides, Earth is a non-sacred planet. It is not one of those that endures throughout the full extent of the solar system. It is said that Venus does. The question does remain whether Earth was one of the original planets, or whether it appeared at some other time and will disappear before such planets as Venus and the synthesizing planets. We have no idea about the duration of that period of absorption. But we do know something about the quality of life on Earth. You know, we're used to that Piscean perception of the veil of tears, although we're told the joy will be a particular energy of the Aquarian age. Yet nevertheless, we do have Pisces as a major second ray cosmic decanate, bringing with it sorrow and bliss, even more than joy. So it serves to be realistic about the possibilities on this planet, not to be occultly naive, but to realize that no matter how much we talk about our joyful situation, we do live on a planet which is very much the hospital of the solar system. Inheriting. Yes, it's getting more and more like a hospital around here. Inheriting more of the moonshine condition, and even being the planet, I think, in which the difficult conditions of the previous solar system are specifically focused now. So if we win here, it's not up to us alone, of course, but if we win here, then the solar logos then does win, because it will be a transition from the primordial ray, the third ray, to the divine ray, the second ray, which he is trying to attempt, but still is in a crisis situation, just the way we are on Earth, with our planetary logos caught between the 2 and 3, and every human being caught between the 2 and 3. Is there anything that came to you that you would like to share? I know things came to you, but don't be hesitant, you know. We're all in the same boat, you know. Yes, Anne. When I mentioned Neptune, so it is the Christ energy that lifts the sorrow and pain. I believe it is the planet of bliss. And although it's super sensitive, Neptune is, it has within it the power to transcend all pain and enter into the bliss state of the spirit. So, you know, Neptune is one of those two-edged swords. When you have it in the beginning, you're very vulnerable. But it is so acutely sensitive that it has the potential to become the bliss consciousness. Happiness, joy, bliss. So Neptune's very important in our work. Actually, in our work, we need a balance between Uranus and Neptune. Uranus, the planet of occultism, Neptune, the planet of mysticism. Those two are very important. We have, you know, the 1357 line, the 246 line, in balance. And people like ourselves should not throw away Neptune just because we're trying to understand what Uranus can bring in terms of occult knowledge and power. It's a balance. Yes, thank you. Other thoughts? It's good to get the, you know, the larger perspective, what the planetary logos is doing, you know, and what we are doing within that context. Otherwise, we just tend to think of ourselves and maybe our groups a little. But the large movement, we can put all the political developments in the context of these larger movements, and we shouldn't forget to do that. It's so easy to forget, you know, get caught up in politics and how things are in the Kama-Manasic area and offended by this and against that and for this, you know. But abstracting and thinking about the objectives of the logos, we have a better chance of actually serving those objectives. Any other thoughts or sharings you'd like to bring forward? You know, we study Cosmic Fire, huge book, with a impersonal perspective. It's so impersonal that people can get bored with it because, you know, it doesn't seem to talk enough about us. But our task is to take these big perspectives and relate them right down to what it is that we're doing. Make that bridge, you know, that Mercurian bridge through the law of sacrifice, so that these studies do not remain mere abstractions, but have some power of being applied. I mean, I think this book, you know, DK said modestly, it will serve its purpose for 25 years. I don't know why he said that, because, you know, the secret doctrine is still around and still has plenty to offer. And I think about Cosmic Fire, you know, I think it's good for 500 years, really. Let's see what he gives in the next installment. But obviously, we are in a position to help that installment come forward by being serious about the assimilation of what is already given, even though it's difficult to assimilate. You know, people say, well, what practical value is that? Immense practical value. If people can actually get a hold of the divine plan, consciousness changes. If consciousness changes, the world changes. So we're dealing on the level of consciousness when we're dealing with these books, with the hope of helping other people adjust their point of view so that their values change in accordance with the plan, and of course ours as well. Yes, Anamina. Through my life, when I have periods in sorrow, I always get lifted up when I read the Danish philosopher Martinus, as if I was lifted out of the personality and up to the soul. Yeah. Okay, well, it's always good to have a source to which one can go that works every time. You know, sometimes I understand exactly what you mean. Sometimes when I feel low, you know, or uninspired, well, you know, I use DK, but I just go to certain of the old commentary things. I repeat them. Next thing, some subtle thing begins to happen. You know, the vision clarifies, and there's a restoration of the hope and the energy that leads towards fulfillment. So I hope we all, you know, that's what Master Moria calls utilizing your best fires. He says you don't need to have your fires burning on the mountain all the time, but know what they are and recollect them and use them at times when you need them. So there's obviously a fire there for you with Martinus. Then, you know, different people have different sources. You know, I'm very pragmatic about such things, whatever works. We know what low consciousness is, and we know what higher consciousness is, so let's try to keep ourselves in the higher consciousness and have that discriminative sense of when we've dipped into the personality and when we're actually rising into soul consciousness. Good, thank you. Any other sharings you would like to offer? Yes, Marianne. This meditation brought to me clearly to have a second look at what has been painful in my life, yes, to put it in that larger context. Because otherwise it's so easy to get personal about pain. Why me? Boy, have I suffered. You know what I mean? And then the larger soul objective, and even the larger planetary objective, is just lost sight. Yes, some of us do put it aside because it's not pleasant to contemplate. matter of fact, as I was trying to think, I said, have I ever suffered? You know, this is a dangerous thought. Have I ever really suffered? But then, you know, the deeper you go in it, the more you find that suffering can be quite subtle. It's not just in the body or even just in the emotions. It's in the mind too. There's ways to suffer. Under the star of conflict, Mercury. See, wherever there's division, wherever there's a two-ness, then there's pain and suffering. The Vedanta philosophy tells you, well, you better stick to one, because wherever there is two, there is fear. Wherever there are two, there is fear. Division is our problem, and Master D.K. emphasizes that under the law of cleavage. He says the sufferings of man are due to cleavage. These are separations. We have to learn how to bridge these cleavages. And of course, Mercury and Venus are very good at helping to do that. Also, Neptune and Jupiter. We have to, you know, so many of us, at different times in our life, we have a cleavage between different parts. You know, it can be between the physical and the astral, between the astral and the mental. It can be between the personality as a whole and the soul. That's one that we all, I think, work on quite a bit. And then, suppose we're soul-infused. Well, it's still possible to have a cleavage between that soul-infused personality and the spirit, which wants some very drastic things. You know, that this happy soul-infused personality may not be so attracted to. But that comes later, I think. Right now, we have to make sure that soul and personality are properly fused. Okay, so it is about 8:42, 8:45, whatever. We will come back at 9:30 as usual, and that will be 7:30 a.m. Greenwich Mean Time, which is not the same as British summertime. Okay, it's universal time. It doesn't change. Okay. Thank you for being with us. 16 of you, and Andrew and Birgitta. Yes. Good morning, Birgitta. Carol, Catherine, some from Denmark. Okay. Gary Smith, Hogney Stavrum, Yermali in Finland. Jeff Georgievich. Hey, I got your name right. Okay, Jeff. Hi. And Jeremy O'Neill, Johanna Vervegert. Hope I did okay on that. Mar Sorrell in California. Maria Christina in Tucson. Nicole in Melbourne, Australia. Nicholas Liberopoulos in Greece. And Risto Gustafsson in Finland. I should be able to pronounce the word Finland. Okay, we'll see you in a little bit, and then we'll go on with the study of the planetary schools, which I think can be very interesting.